What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week. We're back with another Disney Plus series of the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. We watched episodes 1 and 2 this Friday, and boy, let me tell you, I'm excited and disappointed all at the same time. Those of you that are new, those of you that are here to the discussions, we will be doing episodes 1. I'll end episode 1, and then we'll go to episode 2. And after episode 2, we'll do the call-in section and whatnot. It's only on YouTube tonight. We're not doing a dual stream on Twitch and YouTube. It's only on YouTube. So if you are following us on both platforms, I do appreciate you very much for coming over here to watch this live. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched any of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I envy you, first off, or don't get spoiled. Or if you don't care, then stay on in, and we're going to have a good time. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to give you my reviews. These are just what they are, my thoughts and reviews. You could like the show, you could hate the show, but it doesn't really matter because this is my podcast and the way I believe or what I don't like or do like about the show. You can either agree or disagree, and that's the beauty of it. So I appreciate you very much for coming over here and hanging out with us. All right, so the way it works is I'm going to go over the episode, basically a breakdown, talk about, when I hit a certain section, I'll talk about what worked or didn't work for me. I'll talk about, out of order, in order. It doesn't really matter. It's all about the episode. You guys can talk freely in the actual chat. There are no spoilers here. So if someone's here and they haven't seen it and they're like, well, dude, you just ruined it for me, you're an idiot. Okay, because it says it right here. Spoiler alert. The whole actual episode is covering the episode. So we'll cover episode 1 individually, then we'll cover episode 2 individually, and then we'll have a little conversation. At the end of this episode, it will end, and then we will be redirected to the second episode. So there are 2 separate videos going up on YouTube. So I appreciate you very much. How's everyone doing? All right, so let's get started here. Yeah, Krebsy, I made that intro literally an hour ago. I made that intro an hour ago. So it is what it is. I liked it. I was like, it'll work for the series. All right, where do I start? Well, I know. We'll start at the beginning. Okay. It opens up in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It opens up with the recap. Just in case you haven't watched any Star Wars in the last 20 years. About 20 years. It tells you about the whole situation of Obi-Wan and how he lost Qui-Gon, which means, for those of you that have never watched television before, it probably means Qui-Gon will be in the series at some point. Just saying. Okay. Also, they showed Leia. They showed Mace Windu. That could be a thing later. Okay. And they showed a bunch of stuff that happens. So we'll see what happens later on in episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, after the first 4 minutes and 21 seconds of this, we actually get the Lucasfilm opening, and then it starts off on Coruscant on the day that the Order 66 happens, and it starts off by pulling out, and then we see this young black child, which I would assume, I think it's Reva. Okay, now I'm not sure, but just the way the visual storytelling is, and we do know the show doesn't revolve around Obi-Wan. It revolves around Reva, the third sister, or fifth sister. Is she the fifth sister or third sister? I blacked out. But anyway, I believe that's her as a youngling, right? So she's about 10, let's say, maybe 12, let's say, right? She's training, if it is her. Okay, third sister. Thank you, Krebsy. Maybe she's 10 or 12. Now, this show only takes place 10 years later. So I'm trying to think, right? I'm trying to visualize this. Does she look 23? Does she look 23? I don't think she does. I think she looks more around the age of like 30. Meaning she was 20 as a kid? I don't know. Again, small little nitpicking things if it is her. And this is why I don't know if it is her, because it doesn't seem like from there to what she is now, if it is her, it's enough aging. But hey, what do I know? I think she looks too old. Okay. The Jedi, we've seen this sort of scene before. Right, Krebsy. She looks like 30, right? 30, 35. So I'm like, I don't know if that's her. But, so the Jedi comes in, the door's open, 2 stormtroopers come out, she gets hit, blah, blah, blah. She slices, she dices, and all the kids are scared. And she's like, hey, you know what? Instead of leaving out of here, let's run in while everyone's getting shot and killed. Because, that's the story. The last time we saw this is when Grogu had a little nightmare scene of who grabbed him, and we saw 3 people fighting or whatnot. And I thought maybe this was the same scene or whatnot, but it wasn't. But it's obviously the exact same time frame. So she fights off a whole bunch of Anakin's clone troopers, and she's died. She's died. Well, she's dead. She died. And all the kids, the 5 kids, are standing around her, and they're like, what do we do? And they're like, we run. And then it was a cool shot, seeing the whole thing with all the other Jedis getting murdered and slaughtered out from down below, and the kids are running across the platform. And then it says Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it starts off, and it shows 10 years later, and it starts to show, the city and people walking around, and then it shows a really bad special effect. It almost looked like they took a flashlight and like a cardboard box, and they kind of like made the silhouette of the ship landing. And it lands in the middle of the city, and they get out, and there's 3 Inquisitors. There's a Grand Inquisitor, and then there's the 2, right? And of course, Reva is the main one. And I have to say, this is not me being racist in any way, shape, or form. It just so happens that she is black, and she's a really bad actress. Okay? Now, I don't know what she's been in before. Maybe she's just a bad actress in this particular thing. But there's literally no emotion. It's just like cockiness. I'm better than you. There's just nothing there. We don't know anything about this character. And the stuff that we do know about this character is that she's just better than everybody else, right? She doesn't take orders from the Grand Inquisitor, the leader of who they appointed leader from Darth Vader. Darth Vader appointed the Grand Inquisitor the position. Okay. I just didn't feel anything from her. There's a lot of people in this show that are acting bad, okay? So I don't like the Grand Inquisitor's look. I don't care if people say, well, it's the live action and, they can't get it right. They did it in the other movies, and I know someone will be like, I know some people will be like, well, they don't all look the same. Well, it is the same. It's the guy. He's got the marks on his head. It's the Grand Inquisitor from Rebels, okay? We'll get to him a little bit later, okay? But he seems very elegant in how he's doing this whole speech and thing that he's supposed to be doing. And I didn't understand. They park, they go to the cantina, and then you see the dirty looks from Reva. She just hates everybody, which is fine. So do the other Inquisitors. But at the same time, they don't look like she looks. Okay? Yeah, she's mad the whole time, Jason. She's mad the whole time. So the Grand Inquisitor starts to go around, and she starts to have this conversation of, he starts to have this conversation more like a poetry type of thing, saying that the Jedi are their own worst enemy. They hunt themselves because they can't help themselves, right? They're so good at heart that when someone else is threatened, they'll come out to save people, right? So as they go by, I thought it was really strange. Let me see if I can find this one character. There was a character sitting in the corner with a helmet and mask on. It almost looks like a bounty hunter in some way, shape, or form. And I didn't know what it was, and I'm trying to figure out if it's a character that maybe will that will stumble on later, or someone in hiding. It almost looked like the Jedi. Now, I'm going to try this. I'm playing it right now just to see if I can get to the actual thing to show you. It was wearing a full mask over in the corner, so if you walked into the cantina, it would be over on the left side wall. He says, so they can't help themselves, and he says it'll save the saloon and whatnot. He offered him a place to hide. He's talking to the barkeeper, and the barkeep is, he looks like, I'm going to die here. I'm going to die. And then all of a sudden, Reva's like, I am so tired of the Grand Inquisitor talking. So she picks up a knife. Okay. She picks up a knife and throws it at the guy's head. Now, I want to kind of bring this up here. Okay. I want to bring this up here. Let me see if I can bring up, if I have this set up correct. The person that's right here, okay, it's a better shot of him later, but this seemed like a main character of some sort that they didn't do anything with. Okay, didn't do anything with, but we'll see what happens a little later down the series. So it throws it right at him, and all of a sudden, boom, he stops. And I thought this was the dumbest thing, because obviously the Jedi is like this, right? He's got his hand up, and at this point, they're like, well, there's the Jedi over there. No shit, Sherlock. What threw you off? The guy that's holding his hand up in the air? I must say, as a Jedi in hiding, Jedis in this show, right? Jedis in this show don't hide very well. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Melrose Mike says, correct me if I'm wrong, the Jedi are scared to use the Force for fear of being discovered, correct? That is correct, yes. Okay. But they'll use their powers because they want to help other people. Okay. Now, we'll talk about this Jedi that appeared himself, because he looks ridiculous, by the way. He looks ridiculous. Okay. So the Inquisitor, he's like, I'm going to break free of you. You guys can't catch me. He jerks around him and then does a hand wave and makes 2 canopies fall. 2 canopies fall. Okay. And they're like, he's getting away. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You flew all the way to Tatooine on the Outer Rim. By the way, our podcast is called the Outer Rim Podcast, by the way. Okay. Which will cover all Star Wars news, shows, and rumors. Okay. They're on the Outer Rim, and yet they don't even try to chase him. They're like, oh no, 2 pieces of cloth fell from the ceiling. What should we do? And they're like, he got away. If that was the case, I don't know why any Jedi are being murdered. Because if the Inquisitors stop chasing him after this, it's just ridiculous. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, Stealth Gaming, thank you very much for the gifted memberships. There are multiple memberships that are being gifted right now. I did 5 last week. No one claimed them. Stealth just gifted some. Make sure you guys grab the gifted subs that are on YouTube. You have to opt in to get them. Click on the box, click on the money symbol, and then opt in and grab one of the memberships that's been gifted from our members of our channel. We do appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. So Reva and Inquisitor just don't like each other, and she's got shifty eyes. She's shifty eyes, right? I mean this in the nicest way possible. Okay, this is nothing against the actress herself. Okay, the actress is just not winning me over, and it has nothing to do, like I said, with the color of her skin. Okay, it has everything to do with the acting itself, and I don't know if she acted in anything else. I didn't look it up. I don't know where else she's been in. Okay, but she's just not doing it for me. Okay, no really any kind of emotion. Okay. Then it cuts out to the middle of the desert, and I'm a little confused here because we learned from the Boba Fett show that from the Sand People that the desert was filled with oceans as far as the eye could see, and but that's been so many hundreds of years, thousands of years ago. That how is it that a creature that's in the sand, they're making sashimi from the animals in the sea, in the dirt sea? If anyone could explain that to me, I would love it. Did it fall from the sky and land into the thing, and then the dry place of the planet is keeping it nice and so it doesn't spoil? I would like to know, and that's a comment for you guys out there. Please let me know what you guys think. Okay, so Obi-Wan Kenobi is working on this little assembly line, cutting pieces of meat, and they go off. Yeah, it looked like some sort of whale, space whale. It could have been one of the things from Rebels back, from the cartoon time. I'm not really too sure, right? So they show the mundane of what his life has been for the last 10 years, right? We're assuming that since Obi-Wan crashed down, he did odd jobs, doing what he can do to get by to make coin. Doesn't really talk to anybody. He takes a little bit of portions, try to survive. Everyone clocks out with the gonk droid, and they get paid. And it shows the guy in front of him getting picked on, saying, "Hey, these are half wages." But Obi-Wan doesn't want to start anything because he's in hiding, which makes sense. Okay, and this is about halfway through his sentence, right? Because 18 years, and we're at 10. Okay, we're at 10 years. So Obi-Wan kind of looks at him. He's like, "What? What are you gonna do?" Right? So he goes off. He gets on the train, and we see this happen a few times throughout the episode. He goes back to the same creature again. Maybe you guys can tell me the creature. I forget what the name of the creature is that he rode, but it's the same thing at the end of episode 3, where he dropped off Luke as a baby, rode off into the two suns. I forget what the actual animal's called, but you see him feed it the little piece of the meat, and then he walks through the town, goes off away from Anchorhead, and then goes off into the desert, finds his place. You see a little droid eye pop up to see if there's any sensors. Everything's clear. He goes into his... Now, this is not the same place that Obi-Wan is in when we see him in episode 4. It's a completely different place, but it's a nice place, right? It's a nice, cave system that he's in. And you see him sit out there. He makes some lunch for himself. And I thought this was funny. Because he's making food for himself, right? He's making food for himself. And I was like, did they just CGI food? Did anybody else notice that? They literally CGI'd food, right? This right here, they CGI'd food, and I was like, did they really CGI food? They could have just made him cook something. I don't know, just a thing. Hold on one second, my son's here. Yeah, so they CGI'd the food. Can't see anything we're showing? Oh, okay. Hold on one second. There it is. Let me show you. There you go. This is the food. I showed you something earlier. You didn't see it. This is the food that they CGI'd. And I thought this was fucking hilarious. I was like, they CGI'd the food where they could have just cooked something and practical. But hey, they got a budget to spend, and they need to do it. Thank you. All right. So as he's doing that, he's sitting out overlooking, and then this Jawa comes in to start selling him parts. He gives him the ship. And did you guys get memory berries? Did you get nostalgia memory berries from this? Because he shows him a ship that later on Luke is playing with when we see him in episode 4. So this is the memory berry. Oh my God, that's the ship. And you're so excited as a Star Wars fan, right? I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But these little things they do to pay homage to what the original series is, but they shit over that later on. So they shit on it over certain things later. All right. So the Jawa comes in, gives him this, and we find out that the Jawa's also stealing his vaporizer and taking parts from him and selling back to Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan's like, can you at least charge me a half price of the stuff you're stealing from me? And I was like, so is Obi-Wan a bitch? Is Obi-Wan taking shit from a Jawa? Is this where he's so depressed and lonely that he's literally letting a Jawa steal from him and then sell him shit back and he's going to pay for him? You know? I was like, come on, man. Then he shows him some Jedi stuff, and obviously it's Ben's. Right? He's like, oh, well, I heard the Jedi are all gone now. Right? So then we find, and this is one of the things I didn't like at all. Okay, then we had a nightmare scene. Okay, this is what I didn't like. Okay, there was a nightmare scene, and they showed flashbacks. Okay, flashbacks of basically the movies. Okay? They showed flashbacks of not just like point of view of like Obi-Wan, literally movie clips. So he's visualizing and having a nightmare of the stuff that we saw from episode 3 and him and Obi-Wan fighting. And literally just clips from the movie. They didn't even have the balls to try to, like, I don't know, go from a different perspective, do something else. Nothing. Just straight up clips from the movie. And I was laughing from this. So we see Qui-Gon. We see Anakin. We see him burning. He's having problems. And he's like, he sees Padme. He sees Yoda. He sees all the people that he's basically let down, right? Because he couldn't do what he wanted to do. He failed everyone because he couldn't train Anakin to not fall to the dark side. Okay. But yeah, it's just this flashback scene of all the stuff, all this pain, all this anger, but it was all clips straight up from the movie. And I was just like, all right. I would have liked it better if it was just sounds. Sort of like what they did for Rey when you heard different voices in the background and you could hear people. When they show clips from the movies, I was just like, well, okay. Just in case you forgot, Obi-Wan, Anakin, failed Anakin. Now, he calls out to Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon doesn't answer him, so then he just sits there and kind of has like a moment, right, waiting for Qui-Gon. But he hasn't learned that yet. And by the end of the episode, I'm pretty sure, or by the end of the series, he'll do this. Okay. So then we see him travel back, and then he goes and watches Luke. And you see Luke run away from Owen. And then Luke jumps on top of the house. And when he's on the house, he's doing like a pod racing scene or a starfighter scene. He's just being a 10-year-old. And he's, no big deal. Now, mind you, when you see Luke, he looks pretty big, right? He looks like a 10-year-old. But when you see Leia later on, they're twins now, okay? But they look no height. She is super tiny, and she was like 7 or 8 or 9 maybe when she filmed this. I think the girl's not even 10 yet, if I'm not mistaken, that plays her. And we'll get to her in a little bit. But, yeah, so you see Luke playing on top of the house and whatnot. And then Obi-Wan's, you can see him sad, depressed, right? If you can't see him sad and depressed, here he is, sad and depressed, right? He's like, yeah, my whole life. Look at his face. He's like, yeah, my whole life is to sit here and then wait for this kid to show and then train him, right? That's what his ability is, right? So it's like jail. And at night, he shows up like a creepy old man, drops the toy down, and then walks away. And this really pissed me off, okay? This really pissed me off. The Jedi that was in the cantina that ran away, that got away by knocking 2 pieces of cloth with sticks in front of the other Inquisitors, got away. Now, all of a sudden, as Obi-Wan's walking away from Luke's house in the middle of fucking nowhere, this Jedi finds Obi-Wan Kenobi and just approaches him and is like, Obi-Wan, what are you doing here? Like, what? Who? What? You're telling me Obi-Wan has been hiding for 10 years, covering his tracks, doing everything so he's not supposed to be found, and this other Jedi's like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan's on the planet. And he finds him in the middle of nowhere next to Luke Skywalker's farm, right? And I was like, come on, bro. It's so stupid. Okay, so he comes out and he's like, I'm sorry, my name is Nari, right? He's like, my name is Ben. He's like, Obi-Wan, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this? I need your help. He's like, I can't help you. He's like, take your lightsaber, put it in the middle of the desert, bury it, and go away, right? How did he find him? The Inquisitors have been looking for 10 years, can't find him. This dude's in town and is like, Obi-Wan's in the middle of the desert. I know where he is. Okay? And Obi-Wan's like, the Jedi's time is over. Let it go. Okay? And at this point, this is exactly what Star Wars did in The Last Jedi when they made Luke Skywalker a curmudgeon, grumpy old man. They started doing this with Ben Kenobi. Okay? Obi-Wan Kenobi at this point is like what Luke Skywalker was. Can you see the patterns? Can you see what's happening here? Then all of a sudden we get tossed into Alderaan, and we see 3 people getting a little girl dressed up, and we're like, oh, obviously we know it's Leia, okay? And then you see Leia's mom come in. She's like, we have to get ready, blah, blah, blah. You're doing queen stuff, you're right? Or doing politician stuff, I should say, because she's not queen. Okay, so as she's coming in, she takes it off, and then all of a sudden we know it's just like her mother. She had a duplicate. She had a clone. She had what do you call that? A doppelganger to pretend she's not there. I forget the hell it's called. My brain's not with me right now. Anyway, so she starts to run off into the woods with her little robot friend, because you have to have a little robot friend. Why? Toys. Toy sales. Don't worry, you'll see this toy in the stores soon. Okay, it'll be a little pop-up thing. It'll make a couple noises and things. They'll sell it in Galaxy's Edge or something. Okay, so now I'm a little torn by this little girl, right? Because I kind of like her, but at the same time, I don't. Okay, and as a Star Wars fan, I'm like, oh, cool. They casted somebody that reminds me of Leia and what Leia would be. Okay, and I mean that. Like the sass of her, you're like, oh, okay, so Leia as a child is the same as Leia as an adult type of thing, right? Like she's already got that sass with her and stuff. And I liked her. But at the same time, what they did in the show made me not like her. Okay? Now, I don't not like the little girl that's playing her. I think she's doing a pretty good job for what she had, the writing and stuff. Okay? Like you see her tolling off ships as they go off, so you know that she's like a tomboy. She knows her shit. She knows what's going on. Okay? She's always been like a self-sufficient on her own. She doesn't need anybody. She's very, you know what I mean? And I like how they captured that. What I didn't like about this is that where they're going with this. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi should not have met Leia at this time. And we'll get there when we get there. Okay? So she's up in the tree, and she's, climbing around. Her mom comes and says, please, for the rest of the day, we have people to see. Can you come inside? Right? They show the little robot. I think it's Lola. Lola is the robot. Yeah. So Lola will be in stores soon. So obviously, she's bored out of her mind, right? We've seen this before. She doesn't want to be a politician. She doesn't want to do this. She just wants to be a kid. She wants to be a 10-year-old kid, okay? So she steals the robot from her mom's pocket, and then all of a sudden we see them walk inside, and we see Flea. Is that his name? From Red Hot Chili Peppers? Isn't that who that is? Right? We see him playing a character, and he's like a scoundrel, a bounty hunter, a low man. Cut back to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is cutting more meat, going through the whole same process, clocks out, takes the train, gets to his horse, and then all of a sudden we see this bag being thrown, and Owen takes the toy that he left there and chucks it back at him and says, I don't want that, right? I told you to leave us alone, right? And he says, well, you know the plan. When he shows, he's like, no, you want him to show us what? You can fail like you did for his father, right? And there was a low blow. So he says, leave us alone, Ben. We don't want anything to do with it. He says, it's my responsibility. And we should all remember that, right? Because his responsibility, when we watched episode 4 back in the day, he was there to protect Luke for his entire life, to make sure that he could train him when he gets older. And yet, in this show, we have a little counter. Okay. So he says, it's my responsibility, but yet it's not, right? He says, Anakin's dead. Now, obviously, he knows he's not. But hey, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. So Owen, all of a sudden, here comes the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors come in. And I also hated this whole section right here. Why? Because there is no tension whatsoever. This whole episode, maybe some of you that are that are new to Star Wars. Maybe you didn't watch episode 4. Maybe you haven't seen episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? And you're just completely like brand new. And maybe there are people out there, right? And you guys are like, oh my God, is Obi-Wan going to die? And you have no idea, okay? And I wish I was there with you. God, I wish I was there with you, okay? But there's no tension in this show. There's none. We know Obi-Wan's not going to die. Why? Because we know when he dies, okay? Is Leia going to die? No, because we know when Leia dies, okay? Does Owen die? No, because we know when Owen dies, okay? Nobody in this series, okay, that they've showed so far, we're like, oh my God, are they going to make it out? Is this person going to chop off his head with the lightsaber? What's going to happen? I'm so nervous. Nothing. There's no tension in this show. There's no tension. Okay. So here comes Reva. Reva, who's just angry, right? Put a mask on or something, right? Do something. I don't know. You just look like an angry person. I don't know. It's just weird. Okay, she's eyeballing people. She doesn't like shit, so she chops off a woman's hand because she talked to her, right? She's like, I don't want you here. She's like, oh, shut up, bitch, and she chops off her hand, okay? And then she's like, if anyone knows anything about a Jedi, now, here's a plot hole. Here's a plot hole, which we didn't know was a plot hole until episode 2, when she does the little, to the Jedi, or to the crook that pretended to be a Jedi, where she could read minds. Now, if she could read minds, why is she intimidating anybody by yelling and screaming at them when she can literally get any information she wants from anybody, okay, by just doing a force power, holding your hand up to their head and extracting information. Now, Owen's there, and she happens to pick on Owen. This is what I hated. We know Owen is not going to die. We know Owen is not going to do anything to show Obi-Wan is on the planet. But yet all Reva had to do was like, you know something. And then touch his head, and it's over. Plot ended. Obi-Wan is right there, right here. He's here. Obi-Wan's here. But no, that doesn't happen. Okay, she threatens him with this really bad dialogue and acting, right? And she takes the sword out, and she has this like huge like anger issue with Owen. Like she knows him. Like she knows that Owen knows something, but she doesn't want to touch his head to know anything. She's just trying to intimidate him, where there is no intimidation. There's no intimidation for him. There's no intimidation for us because we know what happens. Now, obviously, Owen doesn't know what happens to him because he doesn't know he dies in episode 4 being burnt alive by stormtroopers. Okay? Now, he's just like, I kill vermin on my farm. If there's Jedi there, and she's like, I like you. You have kids? You have family? Maybe you're harboring a Jedi. Well, why don't you just touch his head and find out? Right? All right, so you think you could protect him from me? And he's just like, huh. And then she just screams, tell me where the Jedi is, or this man and his family die. Well, those are empty threats to the viewers. Empty threats to the viewers because we know that Owen dies in episode 4 later on. Hence why Luke leaves the farm and goes with Obi-Wan to train to become a Jedi like his father. Okay? Anyway, I digress. We move on. So this whole scene of, it would have been more interesting if she interrogated other people, anyone, any of the 100 people that were in the crowd. It would have been more interesting. Like she chopped off the woman's hand. That was pretty cool. Okay. But she picked Owen. And I was like, all right, well, this is going to be right. And then all of a sudden, the other Inquisitor says, hey, stop it. You're being mean. Right? And they walk into a thing, and then they have this place, right? He says, this place is beneath us, she says. And she has a problem with Obi-Wan. Now, obviously, we don't know why she has a problem with Obi-Wan. She's probably like watching from a distance when she came in, or when he came in into the consulate to find stuff after the fact. He wasn't there to save her, and she got taken. So I'm assuming that she has problems with Obi-Wan because he wasn't there to save her as a youngling, something, right? But we're going to find out, okay? Obviously, she saw the archives and knew, and we find this out later in the next episode. Okay? So she's just bloodthirsty to get Obi-Wan. Yet she's so close, but yet so far. Okay? She came to the planet to find Obi-Wan because she knows he's here, but yet Vader doesn't know. Imagine that. Imagine that. She's the best investigator in the world. She literally narrowed it down. She's 10 feet away. Okay? And then we find out that she's the one that put the whole plan together to capture Princess Leia because Obi-Wan would come off world. Now think about this for a second. She put a plan together to capture Leia because she knows Obi-Wan fought with her father in the Clone Wars. Okay? And instead, and she already knows that he's on the planet, instead of taking the girl and bringing her to the planet, she decides to kidnap the thing because she knows that they will contact him on this planet and then he'll leave this planet to go over there. If she was so confident that Obi-Wan was on Tatooine, then why didn't they just wait at the spaceport? Why didn't they just wait at the spaceport? Because if she kidnapped, then he knows he's going to leave planet. He has to go to the spaceports. Just looking at this from a outside perspective, right? So we go back to Alderaan. Princess Leia sees her cousins and uncles and aunts, and they all go to this little party. And then basically, real quick, you see C-3PO. You see a shot of C-3PO, and I believe you see R2-D2 for a split second, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you don't see him. I could have sworn I saw him. Maybe it was just another droid. I could have sworn he was like giving drinks or something in the background. I'm trying to look at it real fast. If it's just C-3PO. Anyway, we all know that C-3PO's got wiped. Okay, he gets wiped out. So then Leia's cousin makes fun of her, saying, you don't think droids, they're beneath you, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden she says, he is there, right? That's what I thought. I thought I saw him for a split second. I didn't like stop and rewind or anything. I was like, okay, they're there because that's where they're supposed to be, right? Because she knows who they are, and that makes sense. So, again, the actress that plays Leia, I thought was good here. I thought the lines that she gave, and she gave like the daggers to her cousin to be, no one likes you, blah, blah, blah. And then she has to apologize later, which I thought was bullshit anyway, right? Because why would you have to apologize when he was doing it first, and then she ended the conversation? But that's just me. So anyway, then I like the scene between her and her father as they have this conversation, and says, don't ever say that you're not a Organa. Okay, you're an Organa from the very beginning. How the cousin knows that she is not an actual Organa and she's adopted is beyond me, because they could have said that they were pregnant. They could have done something ahead of time to show, because she was just literally born. Okay? It's not like they had adoption papers and they were telling everybody like, hey, right? She was born, right? Just say I was hiding it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Go into hiding for a couple weeks and say, oh, and it's her kid. Okay? Anyway, that's here nor there. But just a little observation. Okay? So then Leia leaves again, goes and hides into the woods, and as she's doing this, she's running straight towards the guy. The camera's behind the bad guy. She's running right towards him, looking right at him, and then says, oh, who are you? Why are you here? And he's like, I'm here for you. And then this is the worst scene in the Star Wars history. Okay? When she started running, I posted something from somebody else, but when she started running, I literally heard the Benny Hill music in my head. And that's why I posted the thing that I posted in Discord. Okay? This was not only the worst scene, okay? Her running was comical. And not the girl running, but she's like 10 and no adult could catch her, which is just freaking ridiculous. Okay? The editing for this scene is ridiculous. Okay? It's 45 seconds of the same cuts and running down the same paths and being stopped by the same branch and all this other stuff. It was terrible. Remember the cut that we saw in Moon Knight when I pointed it out? Okay? We could break this down later because I can't do it live, but the actual cuts were absolutely garbage. One of the worst editing jobs I've ever seen. Okay, her running, the guy's like literally 2 feet away from her, and then all of a sudden it cuts to the next thing, and they're 10 feet back from her again, right? And then they catch up again, and then it cuts, and then they're like 10 feet back from her again, and she cuts over the thing underneath the branch. I was just like, what is happening right now? What is happening right now? Okay, it was absolutely garbage. Okay, so they capture her. Okay, Krebsy, can you put a link in Discord for Discord, please? In channel, it's not working for some reason. So Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, Obi-Wan Kenobi opens up the thing because he hears the buzzer going off, and he's got his Game Boy Advance in there. Okay, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let me show you. He's got his Game Boy Advance inside. Maybe it's a PSP. I'm not really too sure. But he's got this stashed away in a box. Okay, he's got it stashed away in the box, and it goes off, and then all of a sudden, Organa is calling them saying, "Leia's stolen. Leia's stolen. No ransom, no leads. Just she's gone." He's like, "I can't leave. I can't leave. I can't." Yeah, right. You have little royal guards that can go hunt her down and stuff, and they're terrible anyway because there's no way she should have been by herself. But hey, what do I, story plot, right? So as you could tell, the mom's not even crying. She looks concerned, but she's not crying, right? And then again, we get this shot of Obi-Wan who's defeated. He doesn't know what to do because his life goal, okay, his life goal was his mission, his life mission, not goal, but his life mission is to protect Luke Skywalker, okay? To protect Luke Skywalker. Organa was supposed to protect Leia. He failed at his job. Now he's calling Obi-Wan because nobody else could save them at this point. So Obi-Wan was supposed to go. He's got to go save. He's like, I can't go. Okay. So he's like, I'm sorry. I just can't. If this was just later in life or earlier in life, I would, but I'm just out of practice. I'm not the same guy you were. I'm a congratulated old man now, and I just can't do anything. I'm useless. I'm Beta Hulk from Marvel, right? I'm Beta Luke from Last Jedi. I'm now Beta Ben. I can't do anything. It cuts to Leia inside the ship. They tie her up, and it cuts back to Obi-Wan cutting the meat, taking the thing, going on the train, thinking about what he did. Gets back to his house. Okay. Well, first of all, sees the Jedi hung, right? The Jedi who got away, found Obi-Wan in the middle of the desert, but yet couldn't get away from the Inquisitors, and he got hung and caught, and he's dead. Probably better off. He was a terrible Jedi. Okay. So Obi-Wan sees him and says, yeah, I don't want that. So then he goes over to his house. All of a sudden, the alarm goes off. He walks inside, and there we have Organa inside there, and he starts talking to him and says, hey, look, you got to do me a favor. You got to do me a favor, okay? I can get you off the planet. All right? It's about the boy, and you know it. You don't want to leave because of the boy. He's like, we couldn't save Anakin, and you can't save this. You have to save my daughter. It's for her. So then it cuts back to Leia. Lola, the robot, is about to cut her free, and then all of a sudden Flea comes in and stops it, smashes the robot. And at this point, I'm a little upset with the choices here of this. And again, this is my choice, my persona of this. She's a 10-year-old girl. She's completely away from her family at this moment, okay? She's kidnapped, and she's not afraid at all. I know she says, I'm not afraid of you, okay? But she's not afraid, meaning like, what kind of shit has this girl seen before this where she's not afraid, okay, at all, right? So I'm like, okay, they could have shown a little bit of stuff, like some sort of character growth with Leia, like maybe she was afraid and then becomes not afraid. But she's just like super strong, right? And I don't know if this is some sort of force thing or whatnot, right? I don't know. I just thought it was kind of weird. And then the guy is not really that scary anyway. Cuts back to Obi-Wan on the desert. Now, this was laughable as well. Okay? He rode off into the desert in the middle of nowhere. There's no marks. There's no trees. There's no rocks. There's nothing. It's the middle of the desert. And he digs. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, he used the Force to find this, which would be a lie because he can't use the Force. Because if he used the Force, then other people would sense him and then they would come and get him. Okay? So he finds it, starts to dig, finds his lightsabers, and then takes the lightsabers out. I guess bears the other one or takes the other one, puts it back in the house. I don't know what he does. Then we see Reva talk to the hired help and says, I forget what the actual words that she says. She says that he'll come. How do you know? How can you be so sure? Okay. The Jedi will hunt himself. He'll show himself because he has to save her, basically. All right. So Obi-Wan hiding from the Inquisitors, and yet looks like a Jedi. Okay. Now I understand as the viewer, you're like, oh, that's Obi-Wan. He's the Jedi. We're supposed to know that he's the Jedi. But he literally looks like a Jedi. He is wearing a garb that looks like a Jedi, not from Tatooine. Okay, so I thought it was pretty funny. Okay, so then he's sitting in front of the spaceport where they could have caught him instantaneously, right? And says, you know what? All right, I'm gonna go. And then he hands the thing, and then in the middle of the public, pulls back his cloak and exposes that his lightsaber's there. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? 10 years down the drain. You didn't even do anything yet, and you've already shown that you're a Jedi. Someone's going to see his fucking lightsaber hanging there and be like, dude, that's a Jedi right there. Right? But I digress. Okay? So, that's the end of episode 1. Okay? I was torn by this first episode because as a Star Wars fan, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. This is pretty good. Visually, special effects wise, for the most part. I give it like, as a Star Wars fan, okay, like a 7.5, 8. And I love that they're doing Star Wars shows, okay? But the writing in this it's horrible. The writing in this is just like the Marvel shows. It's so bad. It deconstructs what we know the characters are. Okay. For one, they should never have brought Leia into this. Okay. They should have never brought Leia into this. Okay. Because now what got me thinking, I was like, well, if he knows about Leia and Leia knows about Ben, which we'll talk about in episode 2. Okay. There would be you would have to look at it and go, well, if he knows about her, it takes away what happens in episode 4. And we have this thing to bring up, which I thought was pretty funny. I'm going to bring this up on the screen real fast. Okay. This on the screen right here says, General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now, I'm not going to read the parentheses. The actual line is Clone Wars. Now, he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire. Okay? Calling out for her father, saying, I don't know who this Ben is, but my father used to talk about him. Okay? And now, my father, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars. Now, he begs you to help him in the struggle against the Empire. But now, inside the parentheses, it's, General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars and rescued me from pirates. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire. Okay? Those of you that are not Star Wars fans will look at this and go, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Okay? Okay? But it is. It's a huge problem in the lore of the canon and the retconning this. Okay? Because, all right, let's say this now. Let's say this. Because we're talking about episode 2, but I'm going to take a little brief and go in there for a second. If she's 10 years old and someone says, well, she's 10, maybe she doesn't remember. And I'm like, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. She knows frigates and different ships and being a smartass and all of this stuff, but she doesn't remember a guy named Ben who saved her from falling off a building and used the Force to catch her, to make her float. You're right. She would completely not know that. Now, mind you, maybe Obi-Wan does a mind trick on her and wipes her mind clean by the end of the series and she doesn't remember. But if that's the case, it's fucking crap, okay? Because you shouldn't have even introduced this to then introduce that to wipe it out. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just garbage. It's a garbage take just to do it and go, oh my God, right? Because it wrecks canon. But if you mind wipe it, then it would just set canon back to normal, which is just dumb though, okay? It's stupid both ways. You should have never introduced it. And now that you introduced it, you're going to have to clean it. And if you don't clean it, or if you do clean it, it's dumb to even introduce it in the first place. Okay? So episode 1, I liked, but I at this point when I was watching episode 1, I was like, oh man, I know where this is going. I know where this is going. Okay? I don't like, okay? I don't like where they're bringing Obi-Wan's character. Okay, I don't like what they did to Leia's storyline. Again, introducing Leia and kidnapping her and having her run. There's no threat. There's no emotion there because we know what happens to her. We know when she dies. Okay, we know when Obi-Wan dies. There's no threat in this series whatsoever. Okay, unless you've never seen Star Wars before and this is the first thing you're watching, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen to the little girl? It's just really bad, in my opinion. Maybe you guys love it. Maybe you hate it just like me. Okay? But there's just moments in this show that I'm just like, man, this is bad. There's also moments in the show I was like, man, I really like this. This is really fun. I wish they didn't retcon the original stuff from the beginning. All right? These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. This is my review and thoughts of episode 1, my breakdown. We are going to do an episode 2 in just a few minutes, and it will redirect you from this episode to the episode 2. So it will go down and then come back up. But real quick, chat, live chat, what did you guys think overall? Give me thumbs up, thumbs down, numbers 1 out of 10. Where do you guys lie with this show? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Where do you fall? Where do you fall on the spectrum of episode 1? Just episode 1, without bringing in episode 2, what did you like about episode 1? What didn't you like about episode 1? You can put it in the comment section down below. You can put it in live chat. You can do this after the fact if you're watching this over on Nerding with 30. Duke says thumbs down. Let's see here. Who said, okay, Krebsy said, I'm not even a huge Star Wars fanatic. And I even knew that Leia and Obi-Wan meeting thing is weird. Yeah. Yeah. Obi-Wan really doesn't age well in the 10 years between now and episode 4. Yeah, 8 more years. I can tell you one thing, and this is a real thing. This is a real thing, Krebsy. And I'm not trying to defend it in any way, shape, or form. But stress. Now, I'm just taking what I know from the character of Obi-Wan, from what he's doing and what he's dealing with mentally, from failing Anakin, protecting Luke, letting down the Jedi Council, sitting on the planet, trying not to be captured in any way, shape, or form, is a lot of stress on him, right? Is a lot of stress on him. And at this point, I would think that 18 years of this type of stress, of him being hunted down, would bring a lot of stress to him and would age him quite dramatically, okay? But again, maybe it's just the planet itself, right? Maybe it's the planet itself. Ewan McGregor's is 51, so the age seems correct. Not particularly, because the age, I believe, when Obi-Wan, because it's 18 years from when he was in his 20s, if I'm not mistaken, late 20s, maybe 30s. So if he was like 30, he would be like 48. So I guess about the right time, Melrose. You're right. You're right. I'd give it 2 or 3 years. He's between like 48 and 51. I would give that. I would give that. right? Didn't like the episode. Solid/mid, says D-Money. 7 out of 10. It was good, but you pointed out a lot of the issues. When it expecting Boba Fett, this is better than that with low expectations. 7 out of 10. Yeah, I do believe this is better than Boba Fett in every way, shape, or form. Okay, there was just moments in there I was just like, like here's the reason, right? And Reva's here, okay, and I called this 10 seconds into the trailer. There's no emotion and no tension with Anakin, with Obi-Wan, with Leia, with Luke, with Owen, anybody that we know from episode 4, there's no emotion or connection. Okay? So Reva has to be that new character that comes in that you're going to be taking the story around. Okay? Think about it. You hate her right now. We all hate her right now because she's the bad guy. But I hate her because she's just portraying being not bad acting. It's just I have no attachment to her. I don't care if she lives or dies, okay? I don't think she's a good character because the way she comes off, she doesn't come off as someone that could be saved to turn to the good side, even though she is. Quote me on that. She will turn, okay? Okay, she is the key to this series. Okay, she is the A storyline. Kenobi is the B storyline. Anakin's the B, C storyline. She is the main storyline. And as of right now, in 2 episodes, I don't give 2 shits about this character, and there's only 4 episodes left. Okay? You've wasted an hour and a half, and you haven't made me think of this character in any way, shape, or form from a story perspective as a viewer to go, oh man, I really like this character. She's cool. Okay? Think about Bo-Katan or who else did they introduce? Feng Shui or Fen, right? Is that I can't pronounce her name now. Fennec. Thank you. That's what it is. Fennec Shan, right? Fennec was a brand new character. Okay, we saw her a couple times in Bad Batch and whatnot, but she's a brand new character in Mando. Think about the character progression that we've seen with her from Mandalorian into Boba Fett. Okay? You care about her way more, and she was a bad guy. She was a bounty hunter hunting them down to get the money. Okay? The way they writ that character is a much better character than what Reva is. She's just a really bad, like written terribly. Okay? She's written terrible, okay, in this series. All right. Again, these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. This video will be coming down off the main channel, and it will be going over to Nerding with 30 by tomorrow. I do appreciate you very much. Don't go anywhere. This will go down, and then you'll get redirected to Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 2. Appreciate it very much, and I'll see you guys on the next one.